Welcome, everybody. We're going to get started here in just a couple seconds here. I'm adjusting some of the panelists, giving access to some people for panelists. Make sure we got that square. There we go. I think that's everybody I wanted. Well, welcome, everybody. It's 7 o'clock. We're going to go ahead and get started. We are recording as we go right now, and so we're going to go ahead and get started. I really appreciate y'all for being on and being part of tonight. Tonight is really just to give you a flavor of what's going to happen coming in the next month, to get so that you can kind of get a feeling for what to expect and maybe get an appreciation for some of the things about this system that we like and why it's kind of got us excited about moving forward. So to get started here, let's just kind of let's talk a little bit about the reasons why we wanted to get this all changed. Um, the So a couple things that we liked about this. So the unit we've heard that requiring unit accounts for everything has been cumbersome since we have parent-only events or just other events that really don't need an entire unit account to go through. Um, and that it allows guest reservation. So if a parent wanted to sign up their kid for NYLT or something like that, they can go ahead and do that without necessarily creating a whole unit account to do that. Um, it's kind of nice to be able to see the choices that you're going to have and also be able to kind of look and see what the capacities are, and in the calendar, you make better choices before you buy in this system. Um, the um, there's a parent portal that we're going to go over and that I think you're going to find really exciting. There is a mobile platform. We won't be going over that tonight, but there's a way for Scoutmasters and others to be able to use their phone to sign people up for camp and to update their information. Um, Really helpful for us is that it integrates directly into our accounting system. So we don't have to work so hard to match all the transactions that happen against literally our bank account to make sure everything goes in the right place, which is always kind of a challenge. Um, and some other little things is that it markets us throughout the whole country. In addition to that, we'll find that I think you'll find that it's a more intuitive and kinder system to use. I want to kind of go over the launch time that we have for this. Um, we're going to the pre-launch webinars tonight. We're going to go ahead and black out the Tenaroo system on December 18th, really indefinitely. Uh, there there will be a few events that you'll be able to sign up for. We've got some OA activities that we're test marketing during that time. Oops. And But for the most part, you'll need to contact the council office if you want to sign up for anything. Uh, the first week of the month, we hope to have CPC specific help videos. This will be up online for people to look at, but literally instructional videos for events, summer camp, and weekend camping for you to see. And an FAQ and ticket system will be completed to handle questions. Obviously, that system will grow as we start to identify challenges that people have. It's tough to decide, be able to know exactly what things are going to hang up people. We're going to full on launch the program on Monday, January 8th, and we're going to have a post-launch webinar on the 24th. That'll give us enough time to make sure that if there's any glitches in our system or some things that we hadn't anticipated, we can get them fixed before that webinar so that we can make sure that we're all square. I wanted to recognize a few key people on this in the council that are involved in this system and getting it set up. Again, my name is Todd McDonald. I'm the Director of Member Experience, and we'll be working on predominantly the user interface, support and making sure that all of you have what you need to be successful. However, in specific areas, Ben Marshall is our CPC summer camp administrator, and I put his email in here. He is currently working very hard to make sure everything gets migrated and summer camps are all set up so that we can have a smooth transition there. Carrie Hutchcraft is our council activities administrator, and she will be actively involved and is actively involved in getting all of the district and other events switched over and online. And then Deanne Mullenkamp is our council properties admin, and she's working on making sure that all of our council properties, if you wanted to sign up to go, for instance, to go to Meriwether on the weekend, we'll be ready to go. As we get going here, we're going to talk about 5 key things tonight. And we're going to talk about making event registrations. We're going to talk about the parent portal, benefits of having an account. Since it's not required, you don't have to have an account. You can sign up as a guest every time. Properties reservations, kind of give you a flavor for that. And kind of also a flavor for signing up for classes like for University of Scouting or certain events that might have a classes feature and merit badges. There's a lot of stuff we're not going to cover tonight that the system will do, but this hopefully will give you a flavor. And also, if you generate some questions and things and we don't have the answers for them tonight, we'll definitely make sure that those get answered in our FAQs and prepare for people as we get started. So what I've done is our team sat through a training last week that was given by the Black Pug people. And so what I've done, instead of trying to assimilate our program, which is still in the process of being updated, what I've done is I've taken key pieces of that training that we had to share with you tonight. So what I'd like to do is go through each thing. It's about 10, 15 minutes per section, and then give you an opportunity to toss questions in as you need. So let's get started with making event registrations.
Page, I see several options here. You know, I know what council I'm at. I can read information that's provided to me from the council about the event. I can see the location and the time and date information up here. So this is happening at a United Methodist Church on this coming Saturday. And if I expand for more information, I can map to the event if I need to. So that will, you know, open up a map function that I can go and then get directions. We've got the GPS coordinates, or not the GPS coordinates, but you know, the coordinates in here, the actual latitude and longitude. So if that's something that you prefer for mapping, that's in here as well. And there's also just a little bit more information about when registration closes. So this council is allowing this registration to close the night before the event. That may change depending on the event you're registering for and, you know, things like that. If I want to see pricing information, view pricing just shows me what the fees are. I'll make this a little bit bigger. It's pretty simple fees here. The Tiger Youth has an $8 fee and a late registration fee of $10. The adults have no fee on them. There's also the cancellation policy listed here, and you'll see additional information here sometimes if there's like early discounts or late fees or anything like that on the event. And all of this can be printed if needed. Sorry, I made that really big. Let me back it up a little bit. Okay. You will also find the contact information here. So if you have questions about the event, there will be a contact usually listed in here. If nothing else, you'll see the service center information. So there's a phone number that you can call. But depending on the event, you may see one or more people here who can field questions. And you'll see their phone number or their email, sometimes both. So I'm going to go ahead and register. I'm going to click this registration button here. And then it asks me if I want to continue as a guest or if I want to log into a customer account. And you are not required to create an account, but I am going to talk about that in a little bit because there are a lot of advantages, you know, if you create an account. It's just an easy place for you to go and find all your registrations, and you can have rosters in there that you can utilize for registration. You know, we'll talk about that. So I am going to continue as a guest for now. I'm not interested in creating an account. I can create an account later. Even if I register as a guest for now, that's fine. I can always create an account later on. And then the next step is for me to indicate how many tigers I'm bringing and how many adult partners. So I'll say I have 2 tigers coming and 2 adult partners here. You can see a little bit more information about registration. So again, this is, you know, when does registration close? When does the late fee begin? There's another view pricing option up here, which again just shows all the information about the event. But for now, I'm going to continue forward and just click register again. Once I get into the registration, a screen will pop up and it's asking me to fill in information for the registration contact. That is the person that's creating the registration. So depending on the event, it could be the unit leader, it could be a parent if it's, you know, a family event or something like that. It's just, again, whoever's creating the registration for this event. So I need to put in my primary information. So I'll say I'm Cindy Scouter, and my email is cindy@blackpug.net. When I go to select my unit, it's going to walk me through a series of questions. So first thing it wants to know is, am I a member of the council that is hosting this event? And so if I am a member of Simon Kenton Council, I would say yes, and we'll walk through that first. Then it wants to know what type of unit I'm with. This list can change. In this case, it is a Cub event, so we're only offering the pack option. This member of option is if you are not affiliated with a unit, but you know you're registered in a district or something like that, so you can enter this information without having to choose a unit. But I am part of a pack, and I'm actually part of this first pack in the list, this pack 1050F. But if I don't know my pack information, I can also utilize this search bar. And this is applies to any unit type. Common things I see are city searches. So for example, I could say, you know, give me Upper Arlington, which is a local area in Columbus, and it pulls in three packs. One of them is from Upper Arlington Lutheran Church, so that's why they're listed here. I could also search by the charter organization. So where do we typically meet? We meet at a Methodist church, and then I look through the list and I say, oh yeah, it's this Maple Street United Methodist Church. Or if they know their unit number, they can also just type that in. So I say, okay, I know it's pack 1050. So I'm going to go ahead and select my pack and hit done. If for you guys, you know, if you're registering for an event in your home council, that's going to be your process. But there is also, if you're registering for another Black Pug event, you know, through another council nearby that uses our system, you would just say, I'm with another council. And then you can select your council from the list, and you can go through the process and enter your unit information from there. Okay. So it's also requiring that I enter my address and phone number. It's red and it's got this little exclamation point just to indicate that it's required. So I'm going to say, and then I'm going to add a phone number. In this case, this field is required. And again, it's because the council wants this information. So this might change depending on which event you're registering for. But it's required for me to enter a phone number. There's 3 options here, and I'm just going to put my cell phone number in because that's, you know, I don't have a home phone anymore. So I'm going to say, put my phone number in. And then I've satisfied the requirement with 1 phone number, but I can put additional phone numbers in here if I need to. So I hit done. I filled in Cindy's information. From here, I now need to put in any required information for my tigers and my adult partners. So I'm going to click this red update information on my first tiger, and I'm going to say, okay, this is Sally Scouter, and she's female, and I click the F button on my keyboard to change it here, but you can also just change the drop down. And then my other tiger is Tim Scouter, and again, I'll select his gender, and he is male. For my adult partners, we'll say I'm bringing Mark Scouter, and in this case, we're only asking for first and last name. And then I am also attending, if I'm Cindy, I'm also attending this event. So I'm going to say, I could enter her information and type my name in again, or I can also use this autofill and I can pull in the information that I entered on the contact, and it'll fill in any information that is collected in both spaces here. While I'm in here, I still have access to the contact list. So if I have questions, I can easily find the contacts in here. I'll see a little bit of information about the registration. So for example, we owe $16. We haven't paid yet. We also have not gone through the checkout process yet. So you can see all of the attendees say checkout required. At this point, they're not holding a spot on the event. In order to confirm and indicate they're attending, we need to go through the checkout process. So the next step is I'm going to go into continue, or I can click checkout, and if I hadn't put my required information in, I might be blocked, but everything is filled out. So I'm going to say continue, and then it takes me through the checkout process here. I can expand my participant summary to see how many people are on the registration. I can see a little price breakdown here. If I want to see more information, I can click the spyglass so you can see that the fees are all coming from the tigers, not the adult partners. And then this event is requiring payment in full in order to complete registration. So I'm going to pay the $16 and then go through the checkout process. My billing address was copied over from the address I entered on the primary contact. If that is not my billing address, I can change it here, but otherwise you can just skip this because it's already entered. And then I can see the cancellation policy and a statement that I need to agree to. And again, this is all determined by the council. So your policies that you see may vary from event to event, or it may vary from council to council. It just depends on who is hosting this event. But I agree to these policies. I can print them if I need to, but I'm going to check the box to agree. And then this event is only accepting credit card as a payment option, so I'm going to put in my credit card information. And I've got a little I have a little key trick that I can use in our test system to put my card number in really quickly. So they would enter their credit card information. The last step of this is to authorize the payment. That's going to complete the checkout process and hold your spot on the event. Now, this is something that the council has asked for. They're soliciting donations for this event if possible. So I consider, would I like to make a donation? If I say yes, I can add a donation, but in this case, I'm going to say no thanks and just pay the event fee for now. Now that we've gone through the checkout process, you can see when all of the attendees were, they completed that process. We call it the booking date. So they were booked, today at 12:47 p.m. And then there are some other things that I can do in here if I need to. So currently I have 2 tigers and 2 adult partners registered, but maybe I want to add more people. You can check in the additional action section, and if you see the add participants option, that means that for this event, you are allowed to add more people to the registration. This can also vary by event, but it's fairly common to see this in here. So I'm going to say I'm bringing one more tiger and one more adult partner, and then I can add them, and it just puts them in the list down here. They're not checked out yet. So even though Sally and Tim and Cindy and Mark have all checked out, this person or these two people still need to go through the checkout process. Otherwise, they're not holding a spot on the event yet. So this time I'll say it's John Jones. And then Scott Jones is his partner. And again, I would just go through the checkout process. This time it's only need to pay for the $8 for the single tiger. If this is a new parent or, you know, a new car.
That looks like that cut out a little bit, but at this point, I want to. Obviously, you get through the process there, and you have the ability to, go in as a guest. Simply just add your people, put in the basic contact information. The information on the event shows up on the original page with all the contact information. It also has ability for like leader guides and other things that might be there. So all this stuff lives on that initial page, and then you can go through and simply kind of walk through and register event without having to sign up and be and make it all complicated. So really pretty simple. Some of the things like for advanced players, like adding people or removing people or things like that. I mean, I think once you identify that there's that button that says additional options that allows you to do things, will definitely help that. But at this point, I want to make sure, can I have a couple of you just say hi to me in the question and answer so I make sure that it works? Because I want to make sure if you have any questions that you're throwing them in there, because I'm about ready to move on to the parent portal part, which is pretty exciting. And look at you guys. Thank you. All right, very good. So here we go. I'm going to go on to the parent portal. Very exciting part for me. I think that when we get to the end of this, there's just some neat stuff. By the way, this is the beginner's guide to parent portal. Later on down the road, we'll give you the advanced player's guides because there's a lot of things you can do in parent portal, especially when it comes to like summer camp and other things. But let's just keep it simple for now.
Other actions in here. There's a function in here called Parent Portal. Parent Portal is a really nice tool, especially for larger registrations. So I'm going to use summer camp as an example because that tends to be a unit-based registration, and there can be a lot of people on that registration. Let me add 10 more youth and 10 more adults. Excuse me. Sorry, I have a little bit of a sinus infection going on here. Okay. So I have all of these youth, and we're not collecting a lot of information for them, but that still doesn't necessarily mean that I want to take the time to enter all of this information. Maybe I also want to pass some of the payment off to the parent. So if that's the case, I can utilize this parent portal function. And with parent portal, when you see this function, it does not mean that you have to use it. But if you want to use it, you can use it on any event that offers this tool. So if I come in here, I'll see some instructions on what this does, why we might want to do it, things like that. And if I want to use Parent Portal, I'm just going to check this box. I need to go through the checkout process for these youth. So before I can run the credential reports, I'm going to just exit out of here, just click out of the box. And now I can go through the checkout process without having to put in all the required information because I can pass it off to the parent. That's the idea there. So I go to checkout. Now, this event is saying if you can use Parent Portal, you can use it, but you still need to make the event payment. So the only thing you're passing off to the parent is the data entry. And, I can just go through checkout. That's fine. And I'll pay for these kids. And then I'll go ahead and send a link out, or give this information out to the parent so that they can go in and they can enter the data for me. So now that these attendees are booked, I can go back into additional actions and I can go back to Parent Portal. And now I can run the credentials report so that I have information to hand out to each of the parents of these scouts. So there's a PDF version of this report. There's also an Excel file. Here's the PDF version of this report. Let me make it a little bit bigger. Everybody gets a Parent Portal credential, even the kids that already have their information entered and that are already paid in full and booked. Just everybody gets that access if they need it. There is also an Excel version of this. So the PDF here, the thought behind this was if you were at like a meeting, you could take these cards and hand them out and say, here's the access for your parent. But if you prefer to do like a mail merge or something like that, the Excel file is probably a great one for that. So now I'm going to switch gears here. I'm no longer Cindy who created the registration. Now I'm one of the parents of one of these tigers, and I need to go in and fill out their information. So I'm going to come down to this fourth one here because this is one of our unnamed tigers. And if I've got my phone or a mobile device, I can scan this QR code to get in here. I can also copy and paste this link into my browser or, type it into your browser to get it in there. I am going to copy this, but I need to make one modification to it for our demo system. Okay. So once I get logged in, I've scanned that code or I've typed in that URL into a browser. I should land on a screen that looks like this. I can already see that my tiger is paid in full, but if I go into update information, I still need to put their information in. So I'll say Sally Smith. I can also link in other attendees. So right now, I'm only looking at this specific person from the registration, but if I have siblings that are attending the same event, or if I have, I'm also going with my child, so I need to put my own information in addition to their information. I would receive more than one of these cards, one for the tiger, and let me go down to the bottom here, one for the adult. Here's one of the adults here. And if I want to link them together, that is what this attendee ID and password are for. So I'm going to go back over to my parent portal, and I'm going to say link my other attendees. And then I need to enter the ID and password that are listed on the second card that I received. Once I've entered that information, that links them together. And so I could now use either user ID and password, either QR code, either link here, and I should be able to see both of those people because they're linked together. So now I can go in and say Francine Smith. And again, they're already paid for, so I don't have to do anything else. Now I've entered the information. And if I go back to the leader here, this page is going to refresh. And I can now see, okay, here's Sally Smith. Apparently there's Sally Smith and Sally Scouter coming. And if I scroll down to the adult partners, here's her mom who's attending with her.
All right, so a couple things that I think were exciting in that, obviously we didn't get to see an opportunity for the parents to actually pay, but let's use an event like summer camp where it starts out with like $10 or $20 that people start with, that the unit goes in and pays, and of course the unit can decide, how and when they want the parents to pay. But I think specifically from a den leader, a Cub Scout den situation where a den is going to sign up and the pack maybe pay the original amount, and then you can use the parent portal to go out and say fill out the rest of this information and go ahead and now you have access to be able to um, edit the information and pay your part. And that's optional, right? You don't have to do that. Now, later on, we're going to talk about signing up for classes like merit badges. Well, now you're giving that ability directly to the family to talk to the kids about merit badges and signing up for those. Now, that may or may not be something you want to do, but depending on the size of your unit and how you want to do that, that's something you can consider as well. All right. Seeing there's no, there's a lot more things as far as reports. One of the other things you may not have noticed in there is that when you went back to the original the leader portal, the leader could tell who had actually entered that information and who hadn't. So you kind of have your hit list at the next den meeting or pack meeting or other thing to say, hey, listen, could you please go on and do this? We need you to do that. So, or you could say we're going to have to remove you if you don't, do this by this time because we're going to owe more money. So that's, again, it's up to you guys to how you may want to do that. All right, let's talk a little bit about, remember, having an account is optional, but check some of these account features out. There are more account features than you'll see here, but should give you a good flavor of kind of how the account features are used in Black Pug.
Okay. So I want to talk now about creating an account. So I'm going to use Cindy here, and there's this option up here called sign in. So if I come up here, I don't know where that email address came from, but that's fine. If I come in here and I already have an account, I can enter my email and password and sign in. And I can do that after I've registered. I can do that during the registration process, whenever. If I don't have an account and I'm interested in creating one, I can also click this register button, and then I can put in my name, an email that I want to use with the account, and then a password. Once I register, the system will send an email to that email address so that it can be validated. And we just want to make sure that it's a real email that's going to receive, information emails and stuff like that. So that's, once you click the validation link, you are able to go in and access your account at that point. And give me 1 second, because I do have an example of what this email looks like. Basically, it just tells you that you've created an account. You can either click the link here, or you can copy and paste the link below into your browser. And by doing that, you will have validated your email. And that's all you need to do at that point. So why might you want to create an account? Well, let me log in. I'm going to use a different account here. I'm actually going to use my Cindy account. Oh, I don't know why I'm re-entering the email. Okay. So if I'm logged into my account, first of all, I can view activity, and it's going to show me things that I've registered for in the past. There is also a Find My Activity button up here, and this is useful if you've registered for something and then you create an account later. So if I come in here and I say Find My Activity, it's going to refresh, and I'm on a registration. That's why it keeps popping up with this window. But it's going to refresh, and if I go back into View Activity, now it's found additional events that it's pulled in for me. And here's this Tiger Day Winter here. Another thing you may see in here, well, actually, let me first let me go over personal rosters. You will see this My Roster functionality in here. And this allows you to import a roster if you would like to utilize it for registration. I'm going to go to this import function here. You will find a sample file, and I'm just going to open this up so you can see it. There's a lot of information that can be collected in here or can be recorded in here. You do not have to have all of this information, but when you're registering, these are standard fields that, you know, are utilized commonly. So you can pull in this information that you've pre-entered into a roster instead of having to type it into the registration. So Cindy does have a roster here. Actually, it just has these two people in it, but here is her roster that she can see for registration purposes. She can print a roster if she needs to, so if she ever needs to generate a roster, she can do that. And this can contain Scout members, you know, non-Scouters. If she's got like her mom that always comes with her, but she's not registered with the BSA, she could still have that information in, so she could pull it in if needed. This is what we call a personal roster, so it's maintained by the person who owns this account, and they can have whatever they want in it. You may also see, when you create the account, you may see one or more units in here, and that is because the council has imported the membership rosters, and if you are the committee chair or the scout leader, or the unit leader, I should say, you will see that you are now linked to automatically have access to use your unit's roster. So let's go back to event details here. Let's say I'm going to create another registration for Cindy, but this time I'm going to do it using the roster. So I'm already logged in, and it skipped the question of do you want to log in or create an account or continue as a guest. We'll say I'm going to bring 5 tigers and 5 adult partners. And then if I have profile information, if I go up to my name and go down to profile, I can actually record my address and stuff like that in here, and it would then automatically fill in if I needed to. But, sorry about that. I'm going to use this roster for this PAC 1050F. So I'm going to say select this unit, and then I can go in and click this autofill button, and it shows me the roster for the unit. And again, this was provided by the council. This is, I was granted this access by the council. So I'm going to stay the leader. Cindy's going to keep being the leader. But I'm going to go to the first tiger and say it's Luke Bean. The second tiger is his brother, Nathaniel Bean. Then we've got Gabriel coming. We've got William coming. And we've got Cameron, or we'll go Madison. When I'm looking at a youth registrant type, that list is limited to just youth from the unit. When I go to adults, I can do the same thing. So I can say, okay, now we've got Latasha and Michael's coming, Angela, and Linda. And I'm just going to put in a address here and pick the unit again. Okay. So now I've pulled all that information directly from the roster. And again, I just need to go and continue through checkout. So I'm going to have to pay the $40 that we owe, agree to the policies, and then put my credit card number in. Because I'm logged in, it says, hey, we noticed your profile is missing some personal information. So that's where I don't have my address listed there yet or my phone number. So it's asking if I want to update that information on my user profile, and I can say, yeah, sure, that's great. That way it's kind of saved in there, so the next time I need to use it, it'll just copy from there. This is just, you know, a nice thing here. Not necessarily something you guys need to be concerned about, but see how all of these youth now have like a little rank indicator here? Let me make this a little bit bigger. So it's huge now, but I'll shrink it back. But see how it's got, you know, here's the Webelos rank, and here's the AOL, and here's a wolf. That's just because we have that information from the roster. The lightning bolt also means that we validated them, so we know that they are a valid member of the BSA. I would have to check the roster for these adults, because I think this roster is a little bit out of date, but none of these adults are currently YPT certified. They're not valid. If they were, you would see a little shield next to them, and that just indicates that their date is, you know, they had their training less than 2 years ago. When you're linked to a unit and you go to view activity for that unit, let me make this smaller again because it's huge. You can see activity that you, like registrations you've created, but you can also sometimes see registrations that were created by somebody in the unit, even if it's not you. So here's this Tiger Day, and I did create this registration, so I can go in and view the registration. But here's a Monster Mash, and I did not create this registration. Kristen did, but Kristen is another person from our unit. So I can see, yes, she registered on this date, and she's got 4 people registered for this event. I'm also going to go into the troop here, because if there's class scheduling, if there's merit badges involved, I can also come in here and say, okay, Ethan registered for University of Scouting, and they must have earned some merit badges there. I now need to go and pull that advancement data, so I can click this report section, and I can run the unit advancement detail, for example, which gives me everything that they earned, and it actually looks like this unit didn't actually earn anything there. Oh, I know why. Because oh wait, never mind. I was gonna say the event hasn't happened yet, but it's December. Let's look at their summer camp though. But here's like a summer camp, for example. So here is Christopher, and he earned archery. He got his completion on that. He did not do first aid, even though he registered for it, so there's an incomplete. He didn't get his painting. You know, maybe he didn't do enough requirements, or maybe they just didn't teach enough requirements to complete the badge. But again, you can print these. We also have blue cards you can print. So here is the plain paper, is just the kind of has all the formatting on it. But instead of having to, you know, get printed blue cards or have hand-filled blue cards, you can actually come in and just print your own if you need to. Okay. In addition to like activities and things like that, if you guys have year-round camping reservations, you can also see these. So again, Harold created this reservation for weekend camping, so I can see that it's been created, but I can't access it because I didn't actually create the reservation. This is the facility rental system. We call it camp reservation. Again, a lot of the information here and the images and stuff like that, this is all designed by the council, so your pages may look a little bit different, but the general layout is going to be the same. So I am currently on a home page for a camp, and I got here by going up to this camps menu, and I can either say show me all the camps that are available, and then I can go into one or the other. Or again, you know, I could come up here to the camp drop down and change it up here. I see a little bit of basic information about the camp. So this council has some nice images scrolling through. I can see where it's located. I can map it in Google if I need to. The general check-in and check-out times, if it's a daytime facility.
Oops, it looks like, sorry about that. Looks like it went right into unit reservations, and I missed it. So we have a few questions on here that I want to get to. Um, Now, Ben and Bo and Carrie, you can unmute at any time and jump in here, so feel free to do so. I'm going to do my best to make my stabs at this. From what I understand is that you can only do um, one, you can only autofill one at a time. Or you could do a something where you would do the parent portal and have them put their information in. So those are kind of your choices, I think, on that. As far as the current reservations, we're migrating pretty much everything over. When you think about summer camp, and again, Ben, just holler if I'm wrong, but summer camp right now does not take individual registrations. It only takes just the number of youth and adults that are coming. And so when we turn that information on, then you'll be able to go in and add that information for um, your own youth for those. All the other types of events, and again, I know Carrie's working on a bunch of these, and Ben as well, where there are individual registrations, and we're migrating those over right now. And it is our intent to move individual registrations over, but every individual registration will look like a guest account, from what I understand. It will not look if you wanted to have let's say you're signed up to go to shooting sports training or something like that. Don't know if that's a good example or not, but you sign up for that. When we do the changeover, a better example might be if you sign up for Wood Badge. You'll show up in there, but if you want to create an account, you'll have to go back and do that later. And Greg, our summer's going to download into Blackpug. I know it's our plan that we're going to have all of summer camps up and running by January 8th. And the and so all the information should be in there. What they didn't talk about in here that will be coming out is that there's export functions as a part of camp and things like that. So if we decide to do merit badges, for instance, there is a troop master and what am I blanking on and opportunity to upload um, that information from there. Let's see. I hope that answers that, Greg. Let's see, and then Richard, where are they importing the roster from? So I believe we haven't set up the plan yet, but my guess is that once a week we're going to upload the entirety of the council roster into the system. So it'll be whoever's registered at the moment that this was being done. Bo,
Todd,
Ben, Gary.
I can
Yeah.
elaborate on a few of those. So, Greg, to answer your question, we are moving everything over. There is only at this point we're carrying over, one or two events that have early January registrations. Those are going to stick around in Tenerife. But everything else that we're doing, we are going to be moving every registration that's already in the system. We've already gone through the facility reservations, and I can tell you that Deanne has worked on every single one. Every single unit reservation has already been moved at this point, so it is in the Black Pug system. I've also looked at your unit and see that you're already one of the email addresses that would be linked with that unit. So as soon as you get in there and create an account, it's going to give you all the access that you're going to need. Summer camps are moving over. We're going to start moving those on Monday. If Ben doesn't start moving those, either Thursday or Friday this week. The registration events are already built, but we're just waiting for that cutoff date so that he can get those all switched over. He's figured it's going to take him a week to get every registration in the council moved over from one system to the other, time-wise. And then the unit download or the information for the unit rosters that comes straight from the national database. So if you have your applications turned in and those people have been registered, it's coming from our internal systems from national. We download them and then upload them. We'll be uploading them at least monthly, so they will be just as accurately reflected as we can. That cadence may actually speed itself up if we find that it's not very time consuming at all, especially as we get closer to summer camp time, when people are really wanting to play around with those rosters and have the right people in the right places. Greg, to answer your question, all the links that we currently have to our current events on our website will be linked to the appropriate Black Pug registration. So it's not that you're going to find a spot for Black Pug on the website. Since it's not a system that you have to log into like Tenaru was, there's not going to be a spot that says log in here in order to access this stuff, but we'll be directly linking from the different event pages on the website to the registrations. When it comes to facility reservations, you'll find a direct link to those as well too.
And the last question is that if they're not registered, you will have the opportunity to add them into your registration. So she showed just what it looked like they won't show up on your roster, but they could be on your personal roster if you had them. She showed that you can build a personal roster, but if they're not registered in the system, you just have to enter them in, or you can use the parent profile and have them enter their information in. All right. Great questions, everybody. Well, let's go ahead and learn a little bit more. We have 2 more sections left here. We will run a little bit past 8, but we're going to learn a little bit about how to reserve like a campsite at Meriwether, or an activity at a cabin or something like that. And then finally, we're going to show a little bit about how to sign up for classes and merit badges. So here we go.
Most arrival times are 8 a.m. and then you check out by 10 p.m. If it's an overnight facility like a cabin or a campsite or something like that, the standard check-in time is 6 p.m. and the standard checkout time is 10 a.m. And again, all of this is configured by the council, so yours might be a little bit different. You may find directions here or other attachments. There's also going to be some policies down here. So for example, if you want to see the camp use policy, it just jumps you down to the bottom of the page where this policy is located. You can also see, check-in and check-out procedures and things like that down here. And then there's a reserve facilities button up here, which this allows you to kind of see whole categories of facilities. So for example, I'll come back to that. If you want to see all cabins, for example, every single cabin, because you don't really care which cabin you stay in, you just want a specific date, you can click this reserve facilities button. You can also scroll down and the categories are listed down here. So I could say, oh, I'm interested in a Wyandotte cabin, and these are my options. When you're ready to reserve and you click either the reserve button up here, or if you go down here, there's a reserve button next to each facility. You can also go into the facility to see more information about it, and you can click reserve from here. But if I click reserve, it wants to know what my group type is. Who am I? And there's several options here. Your list may be different because, again, this is all set up by the council. But generally speaking, you will see, in this case, Lake Erie Council Unit, because this is Lake Erie Council. Yours would say Cascade Pacific Unit. There's an out-of-council unit option usually, and then non-scouting group. These other 2, scouting family and council event, sometimes they show up, sometimes they don't. That's just whether or not the council utilizes those groups. But I'm an in-council unit. So I'm going to say I'm a member of this council. Actually, I take that back. I'm an out of council unit because I'm from Simon Kenton. And I'm going to save. It reloads the page because there may be certain facilities that are not available to me because I'm out of council. Or maybe the pricing is different because I'm out of council. So now I can go back and say I want to reserve this. There's only one weekend available this month, the 15th through the 17th. I can say view all months, and it looks like this camp, they don't allow these cabins to be reserved during the week. It's only Friday through Sunday. So I can say, okay, we're looking for February, and we want to do the first weekend in February, so we're going to check in on Friday. And then I just drag this over to the checkout date, and I can say we want to check out on Sunday. If I want to go back and look at more facilities, I can go up to the just the camp name and click on this. Maybe now I want to look at facilities, but I want to see all of the ranges. Oh, and it looks like the ranges aren't, okay, the ranges aren't available online. So they come up. I do see that they have several ranges here, but when I click on this information box, the council is showing me what weekends are available. But in order to actually put these on my reservation, I need to contact somebody from the council so that they can maintain, or they can help me manage this reservation. So let's go to program area, but that's all blacked out. We'll try Wyandotte shelters, that's fine. I'm gonna go up to my cabin or my calendar up here and switch this to February. Let's go see what the first week of February looks like. Okay, so I'm staying on Friday through Sunday, and I want to rent the Scoutcraft shelter on that Saturday so that we can go in. Maybe it's Friday and Saturday. I want to take the shelter for the whole weekend as well. Okay. So now, if I'm ready to check out, my cart is sitting up here that has all my facilities in it. So I'm going to go through the checkout process. It shows me the facilities I have reserved. I've got the Baden-Powell cabin, I believe, and the Scoutcraft shelter. If I have questions about the pricing, I can see that it's $30 for each facility. I can click the spyglass to see more information. I can also click this pricing box to see more information about the pricing. If I need to change dates because I have the wrong date selected here, this just pops up a calendar so I can go through and select different dates if I need to. It's reloading there. I can also remove a facility. So if I'm like, you know what, never mind, I don't want the Baden-Powell, I can just click this remove button and get rid of it. I also indicated I was an out of council unit. So if I entered that incorrectly, I can click this as well and switch my group type if I need to, so that I have the appropriate pricing. So I'm going to continue to check out. Now I said it was out of council, so it wants to know which council I'm with. So I can say, okay, I'm a member of Simon Kenton, and we are a troop, and we're troop 1050, and we're a boy troop. Next, it wants to know how many people I think I'm going to have in my group. So I'll say we are estimating 15 youth and 8 adults. And it wants to know what time I'm planning to arrive and depart. So this indicates the earliest arrival time is 6 p.m. So if I try to enter any earlier time and say we're going to show up at noon, it's going to yell at me. It's not going to let me do that. So I'll say, okay, we're going to arrive right at 6. And then we have to be out on the 4th by 10 a.m., but we're actually planning on leaving by 8 because everybody has to be home for a certain activity. And then it just wants to know what the planned activity is. So I can say, you know, troop camp out and hike. Now I need to know the leader information. So it wants to know who's the primary leader. And I'm just going to use my little key trick here to fill in the information. I can copy contacts over. So there's a billing contact here. And if this is also this person up here, I can just fill in their information. It still needs a day phone because that was not collected on the previous leader there. And then they're also collecting additional on-site leader and unit finance leader. These, this again is something that the council can kind of just determine. So you may not see all of these different leaders being collected. I already had the billing contact, so the billing information was copied over. I need to agree to the camp use policies. So I'm going to scroll through the policies and I'm going to read them. And then I also have the cancellation policy and the cleaning policy here. And again, by checking this box, I have now agreed to the policy. This council accepts e-checks and credit cards for facility rentals. There's also space, they have a coupon, it looks like, but I don't have a coupon code to apply. So I'm just going to go to credit card, put in my credit card information, and authorize the payment. Once I've completed the payment, the council has provided me a little bit of extra information here. I also got an email confirmation that has all the information in it and has, information about my reservation and all those details.
So registering for facilities, essentially you'll have the ability to say, okay, I want to do a campsite. It'll show you all the campsites, for the camp, what weekends, and you can shop around, pick what you want, and just fill up your cart and sign up. There's a little bit more to this. Also, I know that Deanne and Bo have worked really hard to make those site descriptions, with pictures and good verbiage for us. So. All right, let's move on to registering for classes. This is the last section for this evening. And I think, as far as registering for like University of Scouting or maybe an event that has things that you sign up for within the event or summer camp and merit badges, this is a very interesting topic.
So depending on the event, sometimes you're going to do this registration. You're going to pick your classes during the registration process when you're initially putting in your names and stuff like that. Other times, if it's an event like summer camp or something like that, you may already be registered, which is kind of what we have right now. And now you're going to come back in and you're going to select classes for these attendees. So I'm going to go into Aiden here and update his information. He already has a class schedule in here. I'm just going to add somebody and start from scratch. Okay. So here's our youth, Paul, and he needs to be paid in full. This is something that is an event setting, so this may not always apply for you guys, but because he needs to be paid in full, I'm going to go through the checkout process for him and pay for him, and then I can go and I can pick his classes. Okay, so now I can go back to him and I can select his classes. The schedule, the times, the period names, all that kind of stuff. This is another thing that is entirely managed by the council, so it can really vary from event to event. And if I want to see the class schedule, they have block A, block B, block C, block D, and then they've got a free time and an evening activity period. So when I go to select classes, I can search in here. I can hide classes that are full. So at this point, if I'm registering late, I can say, just show me what's available. I can search by catalog. So in this case, there's more than one class catalog in here. That's not always the case. And I can search by period. So I can be like, well, just show me what's in block C. And then it jumps me down to what's in block C. I can use my search bar. So if I'm like, I know I really want to take archery, well, that's too bad because they're not offering it on this event. But maybe I want to take, nope, basketry is not either. First aid? Yep, first aid. I say I want to take first aid. So I search for first. To put this event or this class in my schedule, just click the class. And did you see how that little kid in the canoe popped up for like half a second? That was the system saving my spot in that class. So Paul is now in that class. There's no extra save process that he has to go through. This is because he's already gone through the checkout process. If he was not booked on the event, he's not 100% booked in that class. But since we already know he's coming to the event, just clicking that box is the act of putting him in that class. And I did the same thing for ePrep. He's going to take that as well. As I fill slots in my schedule, classes start to disappear because I can't have anything else in the block A time slot. I see your question, Todd. I'll address that in just a second. But block A and block B, I can't take anything else in those time slots. So now I'm only left with block C, my free time, and block D. Todd said, what if you pay at the end of checkout? Some classes could have fees. So trying to think of the best way to say this. It's not, so there are paid in full like restrictions, but class fees do not affect that restriction. It's only the base event cost. So if I pay my event in full and then I add a $10 class, I can still keep picking classes without having to pay that class fee yet. I can go through once I'm done with my schedule, and then I can pay for all the classes. The big thing is, let me add one more person here. I'm going to add this attendee, Paul. Do we already have a Paul in here? Yeah, we already have a Paul in here. I'm going to change his name. Kevin. Kevin has not gone through the checkout process. Technically, Kevin can't pick classes because he's not paid. But if the payment thing was gone, I could go in and pick his classes, but he's not actually holding a spot until he goes through the checkout process for the event. But Paul is registered, so as soon as he adds the class to his schedule, it's his. He doesn't have to go pay for it to confirm the spot or anything like that. He just has to pay when it's done. So Paul's going to sign up. He's already paid in full, but now he's interested in wilderness survival. And so this says that there's an additional fee of $15. This also says that there are 24 participants allowed in the class, and there's still 15 slots available. So I'm going to put this in my cart and hit done. Now I have this additional fee, so I have a balance due, but it's not part of the base cost, the actual cost for the event. So I can still go in and keep picking classes, and then I can just go at the end of the day. I'll come back to that. I can say, okay, give me American Heritage, and let's do Mario Kart and Dungeons and Dragons. And then if I want to do the zip line, but I really want this particular zip line, I can also choose to add myself to the wait list. And this is something that is, on a class by class basis. The council gets to decide if they want to utilize wait lists or not. View all classes. This is just one more thing. This just gives you a printout, almost like a mini catalog of every single class that's offered on the event. Okay. So now my schedule's full, and I'm holding spots in all of those classes. And then if I want to go through the checkout process, the next time somebody goes through the checkout process, they'll see this $15 balance that they can pay on that scout, or the parent could pay it, through parent portal right after they pick their classes.
Yeah, so the big question there was, were we going to go ahead and sign up for, sign up for merit badges at summer camp? And yes, that is our plan to do that. And this will be new for us, but we're excited because the system makes it so slick. In fact, through the parent portal, you can at some point assign that to each scout or kid or whatever. Or when you're sitting down, you have several people log into the system and with their parent portal information potentially, and help them with that. So let's say that you had a scoutmaster for each patrol that is sitting down with each scout to sign them up for merit badges to make sure they're not taking things that may be troublesome or whatever. Then would be they could just sit there and go online with the parent portal login information, which doesn't have to be the parent, and put that information in. Let's see. Let's see. Let's say it's a merit badge university registration. My kiddo only wants to register if he can get his Eagle required merit badges he wants. So we don't know if he can get those classes until he is paid in full. I see. Well, the answer to that question is, and of course we'll see it when it happens. I mean, at the moment that you're registering, you sign in, you see it's open, right? So you select it and then pay right away, and then it'll be there. The only way that would maybe be an issue is that if somebody went in, paid first, while you're sitting there thinking, and took the last spot. That is possible. Then what the scout could do is um, sign up for the wait list if possible. So, um, all right.
So,
Well, did you
so,
have
so, yeah, I did. So, the demonstration that they have there, is very much the way that we will do summer camps kind of stuff if we have class signups for summer camp, where there will be, you need to have a certain amount of payment in before you can start picking, classes for summer camp. But the system does have the ability, and Ben, correct me if I'm wrong, to when we create a registration, you don't necessarily have to do that as your starting registration for things like merit badge universities and things like that. And I think we already even have some events that are built that way, so that they're not requiring a payment. But for certain cases like summer camps, many councils across the country, which is what she was showing there, require a certain amount of payment before classes can be selected, so that you don't hold classes and then eventually not pay to go to camp, and you've held that spot for somebody. And something, Todd, I don't want to necessarily correct you, but something that I do have to correct is when you are in there with your merit badges picking classes, when you put it in your cart, it is in your cart and there until you check out. Um, you you don't have to hurry through the registration to make sure that nobody else sneaks in and takes it. Once you've checked the box, it's yours. That space is yours, until you either cancel or cancel and close out of the system, or you complete the registration, and then it's permanently yours. So you don't have to worry about rushing once you put that checkbox, that you want to take that class. It's your spot until you remove it or pay for it.
right? So the
Yeah, and
specific
that kind of,
question, the
oh, sorry.
specific question was MBU, which would be a different type of event than summer camp, right? So at MBU, you go log in and you're literally just sign up for a series of classes only, and so you pretty much just that's all you're doing. Whereas summer camp, if you're not if the individual has not paid for camp, or we do not show that that individual is paid whatever level, not register. Actually, if that person's not registered for camp, then I don't know that they'll be able to allow to actually. I mean, not to confuse this, Ben, why don't you, summer camp and MBU would be handled slightly differently because we were trying to make summer camps be the same across the board, where MBU may be, Merit Badge University may be a little different.
Right. Correct.
But for summer camp, the idea will be is that everybody gets registered and then you go on and sign in for camp for your classes. And if you owe money later, then that's just going to be a balance due that you'll have to take care of sometime. You won't be, once you're registered for summer camp, you won't be required to pay any class fees until you get there, most likely. All right. There's a lot more. There's access things, so a Scoutmaster and committee chair access information for advanced players or a committee chair, Cub Master. Those people will have ability to do certain things as kind of another tier of user that we'll talk more about later. The summer camp assistant forms and all that are integrated into the system, which is kind of nice. And you know, things like summer camp trainings, you know, other unit resources. There's also some parent portal features for advanced players that are also pretty exciting things to use. I'm gonna just kind of want to go back here a little bit. I didn't, you know, I went through all of this and I didn't get a chance to recognize Bo Henderson in this process. Bo Henderson is in charge of literally the internal onboarding of all this information. So Ben and Carrie and Deanne are working directly with him to get all this work done and make all these things happen. And my role is more on the supporting you with user interface and making sure that we have good FAQs and, you know, listen to you all as we move forward. Well, that's kind of our show tonight. Again, I'd like to just thank Carrie and Ben as well and Bo for being on here this evening to help guide all of you and good to answer questions. There'll be a lot more, but again, our hope was just to kind of give you guys a taste of what to expect with this system and be able to in the future, you know, you maybe tell some other people or show people that it may not be as scary as it might be. Also, if you start generating a lot of questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me or Ben or Carrie or somebody, one of us, and so that we can start getting a good FAQ going and make sure we can get all these questions answered when we finish the rollout. Once again, thank you so much for all you do for scouting, what you're doing for our youth, and what we're going to see as we move forward, your patience and understanding as we move into this new system. It is our hope that it'll be one of many new changes you'll see throughout the next year that will make scouting a bit easier for you and your parents and families to make scouting happen. You guys have a great evening, and again, thank you for all you do. Good night.